Yes, guys, we are back. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another YouTube video where today I'm going to be going through my pull day split. Okay, so we're going to be going through my workout, some things I think about during my session, etc. A little bit on mindset as well, and your mindset towards training and bodybuilding. But before we get into that juicy stuff, I want to start off with updating you on my prep and my physique update. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you in just a second my check-in from today. So today being Friday, the 20th of June. So this puts me at officially 12 weeks and 1 day out from show number 1. I'm absolutely buzzing to get on stage. So yeah, let's go through this check-in. So today's check-in, I weighed in at 86.95 kilos. I started prep at about 90.2 kilos, or at least I finished my gaining phase or my build phase at 90.2 kilos. Did a little pre-prep diet for like a week, dropped a couple kilos, and then I started my prep diet technically last Monday, but then I went away on a stag do from Thursday to Sunday, which was obviously quite heavy on the alcoholic beverages. So yeah, that obviously put a little bit of a halt in the prep. But yeah, so in total, I'm about 3 kilos down. I'm pretty happy with how my physique seems to be responding this early on in prep. I'm someone who, my body likes to be lean. My body does not like to hold on to body fat. It wants to be lean, it wants to be small, it wants to be athletic, it wants to be skinny, because that's just how my physique naturally was. I've always been that skinny kid. So I find it relatively hard to shovel loads of food in. I'm not a massive foodie, so I find it relatively hard to, get a lot of food in consistently. But, after pushing, 4,500 calories per day in for the last 18 months, basically, I think we've had a pretty good response in regards to muscle growth and just how my body's adapted to that. This is technically the fattest I've ever got, if I'm being completely honest. But that makes me really, really excited for this prep because I obviously achieved the weights that I've never touched before in regards to scale weight, so 90.2 kilos. Hopefully that reflects with a nice little bit of muscle gain as well. So with those physique shots there, obviously going through some men's physique posing, like I said, I'm pretty happy with how things seem to be tightening up initially. Obviously that initial 3 kilo drop, there's going to be a bit of body fat in there for sure. I can tell and I can feel that body fat reducing. But obviously, a large lump of that is also going to be water weight. So I guess take that with you as well. Like when you're going through dieting phases, initially, typically what happens is you drop quite quickly. Usually most of that is a bit of water weight. Especially if you're bringing carbohydrates down, you're obviously going to be dropping a lot of water weight just because of that, let alone just being in a deficit. So yeah, a little bit is going to be body fat, more so is going to be water weight, but now I think we've kind of got most of the initial water weight drop done. It is going to largely be body fat from here onwards, so that's very, very exciting. Protocols back from coach are that we're going to just keep protocols the same. So I've got a relatively flexible nutrition plan at the moment. Obviously, it's strict and it's regimented and there's no deviating from the meal plan, but I've got a few options. I've got a few different things I have throughout the week. So maybe in my next video, if it's of interest, I will go through my nutrition plan and kind of everything that I've got set up for, at least the next few weeks. So let's get into the session. So pull day. I'm training pull with hamstrings at the moment. If you watch my last videos, you will know my split is going to be as follows. Chest and back, arms and delts, legs, rest, push, pull with hamstrings, rest, and repeat. So throughout my build phase, I was just following 2 days on, 1 day off, but throughout the prep, just for a bit of routine and consistency, I'm just going to be training 3 days on, 1 off, 2 days on, 1 off. By the way, shout out to OneFit. This is the app that I use for my coaching. And obviously for myself, I put all of my training programs in there. It's so flipping good to track workouts on and log sessions and log your progress. Is so flipping good, man. If you are a coach and you don't use a fitness app, you don't need to. But if you do want to start using one, sack all the others off. Get on OneFit. It's unreal. So back to the workout. So obviously starting off my pull workout here with hamstring curls. So I start off with, obviously a couple really slow, nice, easy, light warm-up sets just to drive blood into the hamstrings and around the knee joint, obviously before getting into the big working sets. So I tend to do 3 or 4 warm-up or feeder sets before the working sets. As at the same time, I'm going through a bit of a warm-up as well. So some mobility work, some dynamic stretches, dynamic movements. Like I said, combining it and doing it in between my warm-up sets until I get into my main working sets. And then obviously from there onwards, it's lifting only. So did 2 pretty decent sets on those leg curls. Unfortunately, on the second set, I didn't quite manage to hit the same amount of reps I did on the first, but that happens. That's a given when you're training hard. So exercise number 2, stiff leg deadlifts. I actually went a little lighter on these compared to previous weeks, just because I have found that in my back poses, my erectors and my traps do take over quite a lot, and I seem to be quite strong at hip hinge movements, at least for my size or my weight personally. So what I'm trying to do is actually reduce the load a little bit, but really focus on where I'm feeling the load and feeling the tension. So obviously, like I said, I'm dropping a bit of weight from the stiff legs and really trying to isolate the hamstrings and feeling the stretch in there. So moving on to a bit of the back work now. So starting with some face pulls. Honestly, love these. I think it's a great movement to start off a pull session with. You know, it's not too demanding and it's not like a massive exercise that's going to massively fatigue you for the rest of the session. But obviously, you can see here that it's working quite a lot of the back. You know, the mid to lower to upper traps, the rear delts. Obviously, a bit of bicep work in there as well through a bit of arm flexion or elbow flexion. And yeah, it just drives the blood through the shoulders into the back and really gets a nice bit of a pump going. So I've got like 3 sets here, 15 to 20 reps. So I'm driving a lot of blood and a lot of, you know, muscular fatigue in here before moving into some of the bigger movements. So first, like, big back movement of the day or of the session is going to be a close grip mag grip pull down. Honestly, I've been using these mag grips now for the last few weeks and I'm absolutely loving it. I can really feel that tension through my lats. Even though you can't wear wraps on these, I really don't find that my forearm or my wrist strength becomes an issue. So yeah, I love these mag grip pull downs. They feel great. What I'm actually thinking about doing here is I really think about driving the back of my upper arm, so technically my tricep and my elbow. I really think about driving that down to the floor. So I get to the top there and I just think about driving that part of my arm down to the floor. And I just find that seems to be the best way for me to feel my lat and get the best contraction possible. You know, so sometimes what you'll find a lot of the time with exercises and workouts, it's more so how you think about doing the exercise that makes a big difference. You know, even from here, like, I'm really thinking about dragging my pinky fingers and my elbows down into my hip or into my belly button. And again, that just allows me to keep my lats a bit more engaged. You can also see here that I'm leaning forward quite a lot, but I tend to not lean back too far. If I lean back too far, I actually find that my lats will start to disengage, and you will most likely be the same. So actually on these like V-bar rows or single arm rows where you're trying to bias your lats, I would suggest actually scooting your hips back or your bum back a little bit further to the back of the bench, and then actually lean forward into it a little bit. And you can see that as I'm pulling or rowing the V-bar into my hip, you see my shoulder doesn't actually come back, and I don't pull my shoulders back and contract. I'm trying to keep my shoulders where they are and just drag my elbow into my hip. And again, really just trying to bias the lats here. Just think about when you do like a pullover, like a cable pullover, your shoulders don't come back and retract, do they? They stay in the same place. But obviously your elbow and your forearm gets driven down towards your hip, and that's where you feel the lat engagement. So that's what I'd suggest. Okay, moving on to a bit of biceps. So we've got 3 sets on all bicep and back exercises, actually. So standing straight bar cable curls. Honestly, just wish this straight bar was a little bit longer. I could do with being about shoulder width here or just inside shoulder width, whereas, you know, this is actually quite narrow. But I do just love a straight bar curl. It's old school. And, you know, that's the shit that I love with training. My phone was also on 1% here. I was like, please don't die. So I had to go and steal Sky's phone while she was doing cardio to film these last couple of vids. But yeah, so final exercise of the day, standing dumbbell curls. Again, there's going to be some bros out there. Why don't you do an incline curl? Why don't you do a arm supported curl? No, mate. I want to do standing dumbbell curls, and I want to feel like Arnold when I do them. So that's what's happening. Love these curls though, love these. When you can get in the zone, you can just lock in and push yourself and curl to the fucking heavens, then you're fine. If you're someone that tends to weasel out of an exercise because it burns and hurts a little bit, then, you know, don't do Don't do standing dumbbell curls because you probably won't be able to make the most out of them. But if you are someone that can just lock in and kind of turn off the noise and turn off that fucking pain sensation going through your arm, then, great exercise. I also still find that my left arm here is not necessarily weaker, but, I definitely find it more difficult with my left arm than my right to curl. So, even, deeper than 10 years into training, we still have these imbalances sometimes. So it's important to be aware of that, and obviously understand and learn how to train with that, but still make the most out of the sessions possible. So, finishing the session, a little bit of posing in the gym. I'm posing literally every day at the minute. Every fucking day. After the gym, when I get home from the gym, every morning, after my cardio, posing is being done. You know my goals this year. My goal is to become British champion this year. That's such a deep-rooted goal of mine this year. It's just in my head. I'm manifesting it. I've been going on about it for 6 months. Hey, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to be butthurt by that. The better man wins on the day. However, it's just in my mind. That is the goal. So I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to do what it takes to become, natural British champion 2025. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.